Hey guys, it's Roderick, and I'm here with Uncanny Avengers issue number 1. I hope you guys have had a great Labor Day. We're back again with these kind of continue on with the Fall of X. So I wanted to save this review for a while because I really had some really harsh words for the Avengers, right? So we're in the Fall of X, and we're in Uncanny Avengers, and as I was thinking about like the whole Hellfire Gala, how things are happening, I've come to the conclusion that as far as in the DC comics in relation to the mutants, the Avengers are just trash, right? The Avengers are just trash. The Avengers are that friend who shows up at your house and is like, hey girl, somebody was talking about you, but you know what, I really didn't want to get involved, but you know, they're kind of my friends too, so I don't know, I'm just kind of letting you know. The Avengers are as useful as, they're so, in relation to the mutants, they're just, I'll never believe that Avengers are really friends with the mutants, right? I think they're allies. I think they feel bad. But when it comes to like really the Avengers stepping up and trying to prevent and save mutants or help mutants, all they do is look at, give the mutants side eye, question whether or not their tactics are okay, show up here, show up there, and then be low key working for the government that's really trying to kill the mutants, right? So if you go back to Hellfire Gala, as you remember, the Avengers were at the Hellfire Gala, okay? So then there was an attack on DC that was during Free Comic Book Day, right? And we have this Captain Krakoa, right? So during the Hellfire Gala, two things are happening at the same time. So the Avengers leave off to go take care of this attack on Washington, D.C., and Cyclops gets an alert that the treehouse has been broken into. What we find out is, later on, is that was somebody in there trying to steal the Captain Krakoa suit. Now, if you recall, back in the House of X, Powers of X, when Cyclops and his team attacked the Orchis base, Cyclops was killed on that Orchis base. But of course, we know that he was resurrected, right? So the problem was that once it became public that Cyclops was still alive, the mutants did not want their whole resurrection to get out to be public, right? So that's why they created this Captain Krakoa as a way for Cyclops to still do what he needed to do, but also not letting it out there that he was still back alive. That ended up being a wash because Ben Urich, who's the owner of the Daily Bugle, who's also a reporter, got onto the story, figured out that it was really Cyclops. Emma Frost wipes his mind. Cyclops and Emma start having this whole schism, whatever. So we have this Captain Krakoa suit that's out there that's like in the treehouse. Come to find out, so we don't know who is really this Captain Krakoa person, because the whole Uncanny Avengers starts off with Dr. Stasis and MODOK talking to somebody who's in some kind of like gestation chamber, and they're talking him into kind of how they need this person to be on their side. The person's like, punches up, and we're thinking that this is the person who is in the Captain Krakoa suit, right? So anyway, so that's how it starts off. Then we come in to see how mutants are getting wrangled. So what's happening is the mutants who did not go through the gate through Charles Xavier's telepathic commands, they've wrangled them all up and have put them and are shipping them to Mars, right? Now they also have gulags in which they're also processing mutants, and they're giving them choices. Either you take the inhibitor injection or you go to Mars. And on Mars, you have a civil war that's between Storm and Genesis for the control of the Iraqi, right? I haven't really started reading X-Men Red. I may catch up and read it right now, but I guess there's a civil war, and that's why Storm ain't been present in whatever's going on, right? So then what happens is we see a sword comes out. It's Psylocke and Penance, and Monet St. Croix, and they're actually been freeing mutants and going up and attacking these Orchis gulags or whatever like that. So as she's attacking them and doing whatever, here comes Steve Rodgers' ass, and she's like, she's like, what you doing here, right? And he's like, I'm putting the team together. Like, it definitely gave you like Ocean's 11 tease, like if you thought like Brad Pitt was Captain America, it's like, I'm putting the crew together and I need you, right? So she's kind of like, eh. So Penance and Psylocke are talking back and forth. We're like, okay, he says it's not a trap. But then finally they're like, you know what? We're going to go along, and if they get soft, we'll just be like, we're bouncing, right? We find out that Deadpool is also on this team, and then we find out that Quicksilver is also on this team, right? So they're trying to do whatever, and Psylocke asked the $1 million question, what is Tony Stark doing about these Stark Sentinels that are using his technology, right? And Captain America's like, well, he's on it. So anyway, they decide to get off the grid and like reconvene, right? So they all take subways or whatever, and then they end up in the Morlock tunnels, which is where we saw previously in X-Men 25 that the Avengers were talking or working with the X-Men, right? So here comes Tony Stark sipping his ginger ale with Emma Frost, Hazel, whatever, whatever her name is now. And I was just like, girl, and he's like, well, I'm doing the best I can. Orcus is watching me every day. And I was like, that's not even an apology. That's like, they are using your technology to create these Orcus Sentinels. Now, what is very interesting, though, if you go back to House of X, Power of X, and you remember the mission that Mystique, Sabretooth, and Toad was on to steal that Stark Reed Richards technology out to prevent Orcus from going on, we're seeing a lot of things from the future and the past converge already. And we always knew that Tony Stark's technology was always going to be integral to the destruction of the mutants. Anyway, he just is not contrite enough for me, right? Quite frankly, none of the Avengers are contrite enough for me for this whole situation. Because let's say you found out the attack was Captain Krakoa. Why did you not do something? Why are the Avengers not working with the Fantastic Four? Because we ain't seen Reed Richards once. Now, we know that Reed Richards ain't really fucking with Charles Xavier because of the whole Franklin Richards, during the X-Men versus Fantastic Four, when Xavier kind of crossed some lines and was kind of tingling in Reed's mind. And we ain't seen Reed Richards once. I don't know where the Fantastic Four at. They just may be like, fuck you, fuck your island, fuck the whole thing. I'm not really fuck with you. This is what you get, Charles, type of thing, right? But we ain't seen that. We ain't seen no Doctor Strange. We ain't seen no Inhumans. Everybody has pretty much left the mutants just to fend for themselves in the face of another major genocide. And that's just not sitting well with me, because as we know, this is going to pass. And I really hope that the mutants are taking names on who was for them and who was not, because when we get to past this fall of X, there needs to be an accounting and a reckoning of who really stood with the mutants and who really didn't, right? And the Avengers are just very wish-washy, and I just don't deal with wish-washy people. I believe Steve Rodgers' heart is the right place. I think he's putting together this team. I think he's trying to do whatever, but I just don't like the way the Avengers move. Anywho, the Avengers are putting together this team. They leave the Morlock tunnels, and then finally they find out, Quicksilver takes them, that we got Captain Krakoa, right? Who is, we don't know who this person is. He lands on Krakoa, goes into the pit, pulls off Andre and Andreas, who are like Baron von Strucker's mutant children, right? Who they're like quasi-Nazis or whatever like that, Nazi like allegories. Anywho, gets them to join the new Brotherhood Liberation Front, which is Captain Krakoa, Wild Child, Blob, and then the two like crazy quasi-Nazi kids, right? And Blob is like, I miss Krakoa, I want to go home. Blob ain't got no mustache no more. Anyway, Captain America shows up, and there's this whole fight, and then they're like, Blob, what are you doing? So everybody thinks that this Captain Krakoa guy is Cyclops, right? So that's the thing. So a lot of these people are following him thinking that's Cyclops, when holy Cyclops has his back broken being held hostage by Dr. Stasis. Like, I want to know, like, what is going on? Like, why there's no telepaths here? Like, Emma Frost can't use her powers on the surface because the Sentinels will find her, so she has to use an inhibitor ring. Psylocke, she's okay, but she ain't got no super yang psychic powers. Betsy always stays in Otherworld, fool-la-ing off of Rachel. Like, the X-Men are just rudderless at this point. Like, no leadership. I mean, they just really just giving you the best that they got, like singing the X-Men Good Time song, right? Like, because it's just all a hot mess. So they fight, and then Captain Krakoa ends up breaking Captain Steve Rogers' arm or whatever like that. So I was just like, okay, here we go with that. So anyway, one of the things I left out, the story is narrated in the beginning by, again, Ben Urich, who is the owner of the Daily Bugle. And he has been showing up in a lot of these Fall of X issues, investigating, trying to figure out whether or not Captain Krakoa was a false flag operation, whether or not it's the mutants, and really does Orchis really have humanity's best interest at heart, right? But the fact is, he's a reporter. What's he gonna do? He ain't got nary powers. He already almost got his mind wiped the first time. But it's good because you kind of see him on the outside, kind of, and I think that he's gonna play a major part in breaking the story when it's revealed that Orchis is just high-key trash anyway, right? So that's Uncanny Avengers #1. I'm going to follow this book just because I want the Avengers to prove me wrong. I want Steve Rodgers to prove me wrong. Like, I like Deadpool. I think Quicksilver's great. I've always been yam with Penance. You know, I like Betsy. She's been cute. So I really like this book and where it's going to go. Like I said, it's very interesting to kind of see kind of how people are reacting to what's happening after the Hellfire Gala and how Orchis is taking over. I need Tony Stark to be doing more work, though. I need him to be doing more work. This whole Emma wedding that's going to come up, that I guess I'll be reading it maybe. But I mean, we'll see. But I am liking Uncanny Avengers. I think it's really good. I think that the team is good. Oh, Rogue is also on the team, right? So we have Rogue, Penance, Psylocke, Quicksilver, Steve Rodgers, Deadpool. It rounds up to being a very interesting team. I'm liking it. So we'll see where it goes, right? Like, again, this first issue gave me everything I needed to kind of lock me into this story. And also to kind of see, like, is Steve Rodgers really going to redeem himself? Or is he just going to be this wishy-washy, kind of sort of always kind of mutant friend, but, you know, can't really be relied upon type of stuff. But anyway, that's me. That's Uncanny Avengers #1. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos, share this with your friend, and have a great Tuesday. Bye.